Hello, teachers of Immersion Bilinguals. Welcome to my blog, Linguistics for Teachers. My name is Ingrid Heydrich, and today I'd like to talk to you about classroom routines for foundational literacy skills in standalone. As some of you know, my area of expertise is English language pedagogy, specifically for standalone. And this year, I want to try and help you create your own curriculum materials for your classrooms. I am gearing it toward older learners. However, everything can be easily adapted to younger learners. You're looking at a worksheet of the alphabet, and we're going to ask our students to trace the alphabet. And you might be thinking, well, how is this going to work for older students? Because this is something that first graders do or second graders. Well, I want to talk to you today about the need for foundational literacy skills for adolescent learners. So the reason that I want to establish classroom routines for foundational literacy is because foundational literacy is something that takes years. And when you're dealing with older students, we have no time to waste. It's not something that they can just develop in one lesson. It's something that they have to work on over the course of a year. And I really want you to get good at maximizing instructional time in standalone because we literally need every minute we have, especially with the testing that goes on in the spring. So why classroom routines? Well, number one, they help the teacher maximize instructional time and student engagement. Number two, they allow students to practice a skill repeatedly and gain automaticity. Okay, that's the key word here. Automaticity, which will lead to more fluent reading and writing. And it reduces the burden of language comprehension because emergent bilinguals know what to do. They can focus on the learning. And so I really want you to think back to when you may have studied a new language and that first comprehension barrier, right? When you're sitting there and you're listening to the language and you don't understand what's going on, okay? It takes so much mental energy to figure out, well, what is the teacher asking me to do? What routines do is give students a template for learning. And they know what to do, they know what the expectation is, and they know what the purpose is. And so things with practice can go more quickly. And that's what we're aiming for, to do things more quickly and to do things more efficiently and effectively. So I want to show you this alphabet warm-up. And you might be asking, well, why would I do this with my older students? This introduces older students to the English alphabet and supports or corrects handwriting. Many of our older students come to standalone really not having a lot of alphabetic knowledge in their home language. And now all of a sudden, let's say they're in the 6th grade, they're being asked to read complex text, which of course, as a newcomer entering emerging, they can't do yet. And so how do we get them there? How do we bridge this, what seems like an enormous gap? Well, we need to start with the foundation, okay? We can't build a house of cards. We have to build a house of bricks. And alphabetic knowledge is one of those bricks. It is a precursor to fluent reading and spelling. And handwriting supports students to write more, which means the length of the writing, and better, which means more complex language. Okay, and so the reason that I'm giving them this worksheet is because I want them to get very quick at writing out the alphabet and then beginning to alphabetize words. Now, if you get a class full of brilliant students who know the alphabet, who can easily alphabetize words, then this routine is not for you. But if you have a class of really struggling learners, let's start implementing this routine. I'm going to say somewhere in mid-October. Okay, I would like to get students settled, comfortable in class, feeling more confident, having some vocabulary knowledge, and then we can ease them into some foundational literacy routines. And so, as I said, the many older students struggle with foundational literacy, and that's why we're doing this. So the first steps are your students come into class, they sit down, put their things away, and take out a pencil. Yes, I would like them to use a pencil. I would like them to erase and correct their mistakes in class throughout the year. That's why I prefer pencils. Also, it keeps anything that's written on the page, it keeps it neater because they can erase and then rewrite. I would like you to pass out this pre-printed worksheet. I'm going to give you the link to my blog post below where you can download it. I want you to model proper writing posture. You can do this perhaps the first time, and then perhaps you can choose a student in your class to model it for his or her colleagues. And what I mean by proper writing posture is what you see here in the picture. Sitting up straight in our chairs, feet on the floor, elbow on the table. Now, if your students are right-handed, we want their right elbow on the table, and we want their notebooks turning to the left, as you see here in the picture. And what this does is that it allows for better handwriting. It supports the arm and the wrist to hold the pencil and to write more legibly. If your students are left-handed, they're going to do the opposite. They're going to put their left arms on the table and turn their papers toward the right at a diagonal. You're going to model tripod pencil grip. As you can see in the picture, by tripod, and I'm doing it here, it means that we're holding the pencil in our 3 fingers with the thumb here on the left and the index and middle finger holding the pencil like this. I want you to model this for your students. You're not going to have the wherewithal to go around to every student. This is not an occupational therapy session. However, you're going to model this. And with modeling and repeated attention, I want your students who may never have learned how to support their writing posture, I want them to see this explicitly. Okay, let's move on. There is a video on YouTube. It's not a cartoon. There's no song. It's just a wonderful video of a ruled chalkboard. So ruled lines, a top line, a bottom line, and a dashed line, and letters forming with arrows. Okay, and so your students can watch the letters being formed. Then what I would like them to do is simultaneously watch and then start filling out their own worksheets. Okay, so this isn't even something that you have to do. You can simply play the video. When you're starting out with this routine, let's not do the whole alphabet at once. Let's break it in half. Let's do A through M, for example, okay? So that you can slowly implement it. If you prefer to have your students watch the entire video first and just practice a little bit in their notebooks or on a whiteboard together as a class before you start this routine, that's even better. After tracing, students write out their name and the date. And I would like you to model for your students how to write out the entire date, September 15th, 2022, September as a word. In this way, we're helping our students acquire the spelling of the months. And then finally, the class chorally recites the alphabet. Now, this doesn't have to be a babyish activity. You could do it for your students. You could have a student volunteer to do it. Once your class feels comfortable, like their classroom is a safe space, they can do this together. If it's too much, do half the alphabet first. Okay, so what happens next? After this alphabet warm-up,
A wonderful do now would be to give them some vocabulary that they have already learned and have them alphabetize it. And so here, if you would like this sample lesson, I have it for you online. I'll put the link below. They would have to look at classroom as well as basketball and figure out that basketball is the first word in the sequence followed by classroom. Okay, this seems like you might be asking, how is this going to help them to read complex text? Well, I'm bringing you evidence-based practices. By evidence, I mean what the research has shown us is pedagogically effective. Our kids need to learn how to read, and this is the first step. I promise you that by the end of the year, after we go through my scope and sequence, your students are really going to accelerate to a level that you may not have thought possible. That's it for today. If you like this video and you'd like me to continue to post videos, please subscribe, post your comments below. I'll put all the links that you need to download the worksheet and to access the sample lesson. See you next week.